Elvis Merzlikins announces that he'd like to be traded from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Corey Perry has been given the green light to return to the National Hockey League. Cody Hodgson has announced that he might come out of retirement. And what's up next on the goaltending situation for the Leafs, the Devils, and the Hurricanes? I'm going to talk about all of that and more next on NHL Rumors. Well, Elvis Merzlikins is now available. Of course, he might have been previously, but it's for sure now that teams are going to be calling Jarmo Kahkonen to see what kind of deal they can put together. In particular, teams like the Devils and Leafs might be interested. Of course, Merzlikins has a long-term deal still. He goes till 26-27, a $5.4 million annual deal. And so he's a guy that teams have got to make a major decision on. Now, he's been playing well this year, a .906 save percentage, 3.22 goals against. And if you look back over recent years, other than last year, which was a bit of an outlier, he's generally been well above that .900 save percentage each year. So he's a goaltender that clearly can get it done. He steps in at 6'3", so he's a large goaltender as well. And he's a guy that could really help some teams. Now, what's going to happen with Merzlikins will depend on what kind of deal can be put together. Another guy that's available, of course, is defenseman Adam Boqvist. Boqvist has been around for quite a while. He's been available from the Blue Jackets for most of the season. In fact, he sat out several games to start the year, but recently has been seeing playing time. And I think that's because the Jackets want to showcase him, and he could be a nice part of a deal alongside a guy like Merzlikins. So a team like Toronto might be a really good fit here with these two guys coming in and bolstering goaltending and defense. When you think of other goaltenders who might be available, you've got to think of Peter Mrazek, of course, with Chicago Blackhawks, Jake Allen with the Montreal Canadiens, and Kahkonen is another one with the San Jose Sharks. And teams looking for goaltending might come calling. You know, the Hurricanes situation's an interesting one. They're rolling with Antti Ranta, who seems to have turned his game around, fortunately for the Hurricanes, but they don't have much depth behind him. Of course, Yanni Peretz has been backing him up in the absence of injured Pyotr Kochetkov. So Kochetkov out with a concussion situation, not sure how long he's going to be out. Of course, Freddie Anderson remains out with his blood clot issue, so they could be looking to shore up the goaltending, and these guys would certainly fit the bill. New Jersey Devils, of course, also struggling in goal. They've been going with Nico Daws lately. They've given up on the two guys that they've had previously handling it, and that would be, of course, Vitek Vanacek and Akira Schmidt. So they've gone to Daws now. He's been playing very, very well for them and has done a nice job in the 5 games he's played, but you can't expect Daws to carry the bulk of the load going forward. So they're going to keep taking a look for goaltending, and they could be looking at these guys as well. A couple of other names in the news this week. Corey Perry, who's been given the green light to return to play from the National Hockey League head office. And, of course, Cody Hodgson, who's announced he'd like to come out of retirement and play pro hockey again. Let's talk about Perry for a minute. Perry, of course, is going to be a guy that's very attractive to teams running towards the playoffs, and particularly hoping to go deep. You know, Perry has had great success in the playoffs. He's a big player, 6'3", almost 210. He's a guy that likes to get in front of the net and make things happen. That's a lot of the offense in the playoffs happens that way, so he's a guy that could be of interest for that. And he's had good success in the playoffs. In the last 4 years, 78 games, 17 goals, 18 assists for 35 points, and that's in limited playing time. So he definitely can add offense. He's a guy that can make things happen for you. And I think for teams looking to add third, fourth line depth going into the playoffs, he's a guy they're going to want to talk about. And I see teams like the Dallas Stars, Carolina Hurricanes, the Florida Panthers, the Vancouver Canucks, all of these teams could be in the mix for a guy like Corey Perry. Cody Hodgson, a little bit different story. He's looking to come out of retirement after 8 years, and that's something I've never heard of before. That's unbelievable. In fact, for a guy like Hodgson, who really was a bit of a fringe player when he left the National Hockey League, that's kind of surprising. He had a very unusual illness that caused him to shorten his career, malignant hypothermia, and he apparently is doing a lot better now. However, he was never a quick skater. He was a player that played very smart on the ice. He could see the ice well, great offensive instincts, but I don't see much of a role with Hodgson, certainly at the NHL level. Maybe he'll find a way to get into pro with the lower levels of pro hockey in North America or over in Europe. So we'll see what happens with Hodgson. Certainly wish him all the best, and kind of an interesting story to follow as we go forward. One other player that came up in the news this week, Elliot Friedman, announced that Alexander Chmelevski, who had been a draft pick of the San Jose Sharks in 2017 in the 6th round, had played a couple of years with the Sharks and their farm team, the Barracuda, and then ultimately went back to Russia. He was a guy that showed some real offensive instincts, but did not play particularly a 200-foot game. Remind you of someone? That would be Kuzmenko with the Vancouver Canucks, of course. But apparently he has great offensive instincts, and he's been tearing it up in the KHL the last couple of years with Salavat, and is looking to come back to North America. So we'll see what happens there. There'll be teams lining up for him just like they did Kuzmenko. He's going to bring offense. Whether or not he can play the way that some of these teams want to play with a 200-foot game is a big question. So we'll see what happens in the coming days with Chmelevski. Fully expect he'll be signed to a deal shortly. In any case, lots going on in the NHL rumor mill these days. It's going to continue to heat up as we head towards the trade deadline. I'm going to keep you totally up to date with all the big news as we go forward right here on stormTRacker.